A young man saved a disabled girl who was flying through the air, but instead of being thanked, he paid a heavy price for his kindness.
何すんだ。
変態。
え？
ベタベタ触りよって、この変態。
John was stunned when he heard this. It was the first time he had encountered such an unreasonable girl. Then, Mary's grandmother showed up. Since they were going in the same direction, the girl accused John of being a creepy stalker. As they passed by Mary's house, to show her gratitude, the grandmother invited John inside for something to eat. John, who hadn't eaten, agreed. However, Mary began to mock John, saying he was like a stray cat, eating wherever he went. But John wasn't embarrassed by her words. He ate as though he were in his own home, not because he was greedy, but because he didn't have the extra money to buy a meal. When Mary's grandmother heard this, she understood John's financial struggles. John was a college student majoring in marine biology, and because of his passion for the ocean, he worked several part-time jobs to save up for studying abroad in Mexico. Mary's grandmother, recognizing that John was a kind and ambitious young man, offered him a special job with a higher salary than all his other jobs. John immediately accepted without hesitation. The job was to take care of Mary and fulfill her needs, with one condition: he couldn't take her out alone. Little did John know, this would soon become his nightmare. Mary's first request was for him to kneel down, wanting to know how long a person could kneel. John realized that Mary was deliberately making things difficult for him. Her second task was for him to count the grid squares on a tatami mat. After much effort, he reached 8,888, but when the grandmother came back and interrupted him, he forgot everything. The third task was to pick 10 four-leaf clovers. Mary had heard that if she gathered 10, all her wishes would come true. After John completed the task, he curiously peered into Mary's room but was met with strong resistance from her. When John got to school, his teacher congratulated him on his paper, which had been recognized by a professor from Mexico. As a result, John received an offer for direct admission, something he had dreamed of for a long time. From that moment on, he knew he not only had to work hard to save money but also to study Spanish. However, his current job was becoming a real burden, as every day felt like torture. Encouraged by his classmates, John decided to quit his job with Mary. He went to her house but could not get any response from her. After waiting for a while, he pushed open Mary's door, and what he saw shocked him. Her room was like a blue ocean, filled with fish she had painted. He hadn't expected that such an arrogant girl would have such a gentle heart. Just then, he heard Mary's grandmother calling for help. It turned out that Mary had gone out alone. John rushed out to find her, and soon he found her at a railway crossing. Mary asked him to take her to the beach, and after hearing about her longing for the sea, John decided to take her there. For the first time, Mary went outside during the day, bought a ticket, and took a tram, with John by her side. As they rode, Mary looked out the window, her face filled with wonder and joy, especially when a little boy pointed out an airplane. She quickly looked up, trying to spot it in the sky. Finally, they arrived at the beach. Mary, as though in a dream, eagerly approached the water. However, her wheelchair got stuck in the sand, and she couldn't move. In a moment of carelessness, she fell onto the sand. But instead of resisting, she began to crawl forward with great difficulty. John was shocked. He hadn't realized that Mary's dream was so simple, yet so determined. Without hesitation, he lifted Mary onto his shoulders and walked toward the sea.